This is ABTV, Animal Bites Television. For animal lovers, by animal lovers.
Kevin, this is absolutely gorgeous. Now, this is a sulfur water monitor?
Yep, and this originated out of the wild.
Okay, so this is a new line.
This is pure.
Right.
So we've raised him for many years. Right, buddy?
That's great. What's his, has he got a name?
His name is Raw.
My name is Brian Barczyk. I'm no zoologist, just a guy with a passion for animals. And that passion often takes me on animal adventures around the world. This week, I'll be at New England Reptile Distributors visiting Kevin and his amazing monitor lizards. You're watching Snake Bites. I think I've seen some little stickers on cages that Ra's been a dad, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, now that's a recessive mutation, right?
Yeah, well, we're a little bit confused exactly, like, is this a locality thing, or is it like, are all the animals in this locality? Because they keep some of this stuff kind of secret and stuff like that, so I'm way far away from where they're actually collecting these. But if I were to breed this to a normal Malaysian water monitor or a normal water monitor, I'm producing these babies that don't look straight normal. You look like you can see something else. You can see the suggestion of sulfur in the genetics of those animals, you know, visually and stuff like that. Right. So I definitely notice a difference in the visuals.
Right. So it could be a locality, it could be a codominant, or it could be a visual recessive.
Yeah, I would definitely. Yeah,
that's a lot of could be's.
It's just probably recessive, if not, you know, incomplete dominant. You know, I think we have the same kind of thing with the black dragons.
Right.
And
yeah, because there's certain localities of black
we
dragons.
did like a Togian, pure Togian water monitor to like our normal water monitors, like, you know, the Java ones and Malaysian ones or whatever. And there's a big difference in those, what they look like. Even their personalities too. They're just ridiculous.
Well, there's nothing like a water monitor that's this size. I tell you what, guys, you cannot imagine the power on those legs. I mean, it just kind of pulls you around, and you certainly wouldn't want to be on the business end if this guy wasn't tame. So it's pretty awesome that you put so much work into kind of the behavioral part of these guys.
And generally, like what he's doing right now, he's just doing it because I basically took him out of his water. I didn't just, you know, respect his, you know, whatever, but he's a big goof. As you can see, he's super friendly.
Yeah.
But
certainly no aggression
he wants to do what he
whatsoever.
wants to do.
Yeah, he just wants to walk around, you know, which is not a problem. Let him go. See you, guy? See you, Raw? One of the things about breeding monitor lizards is that any lizard breeding is typically pretty aggressive. So what you have is typically the male biting on the female, and sometimes the female will come back and bite back. Unfortunately, that's just part of lizard breeding, and you can see the battle scars from this male that was trying to breed an already adult female. She got him pretty good on the arm. You can see over on this leg, there's some scarring in it, and even in back here on the back knee. Now again, this is really typical when it comes to any big monitor lizard breeding. It's just the way that they do it. We see the same thing with blue-tongued skinks, Gila monsters, pretty much all the big lizards. It's just the way to go. And although you always feel bad for him, this guy will survive just fine and heal up, and it won't be any big deal at all. And you can see he certainly hasn't changed his attitude. So we have another amazing specimen here, and this is it's got a kind of an interesting story. I mean, you know, I love rare animals, and I love rare animals that have interesting stories behind them. So you're saying that this is a T-negative albino, and this was the first one, right?
This is the first one ever produced in captivity. My original animal came out of the wild, and this is the first baby we ever made. And he doesn't look like normal because we keep them on cypress mulch, and cypress mulch is stained. They dye it.
Exactly.
So they get it all over their skin. But if you know, we'll show if you zoom in on parts of his body. If you look at this as a baby, they look like an amelanistic albino ball python.
Right.
And but he's just incredibly dirty. He didn't know that you were going to be here. So
well, you know, boys never clean up. Yeah, boys never clean up very well. So again, the T-negative would be a recessive mutation.
Yeah.
And you've been able to reproduce these guys in the past.
Yes.
Obviously, this was a baby that you produced, and now is he going to start fathering some clutches here?
Yeah, he's a little bit of a lazy breeder. We have one of his sons or one of his relatives that we're primarily using right now for breeding and stuff like that. He's like one of my buddies, and his name is Gadzuki.
Gadzuki.
And he's wonderful. He's what I like to call urban dinosaurs.
Exactly.
Because they're like, you know,
yeah, I mean,
obviously he basically it's a big animal, so it's some responsibility. He's still pretty young. I haven't made him too big because you know when they start getting 6 foot or better, they're not necessarily the greatest breeders because they're so big, and the females are dimorphically smaller. So I try to keep them at a comfortable size, and I also try not to overfeed these guys and make them too enormous.
Right. Yeah. Now I know with some lavender lizards, there's a lot of like fatty liver issues. Do we have the same thing going on with these guys?
Potentially, yes.
He's about to take your mic right off your thing. So yeah, so you want to keep these guys kind of, not lean, but lean and mean to where they're like healthy. So as you can see, the little chompers on this guy, he's definitely got some thick legs, plenty of muscle there, but he's not an obese animal, which I think is probably good for his long term. The
trick is limiting the diet. Basically keeping the temperatures right, so the hot spots are 110 to 130 degrees. As they get bigger, instead of having one basking light, we spread it out. I like to aim it over, let's say, like a ceramic tile. So I heat up the ceramic tile, and then the animal moves onto that, and then when it lays down, it warms up its stomach. Plus, it's also getting UVA on its back. And as far as what we're feeding rodents. We're feeding them a raw dog and cat food diet. That's not dog food or cat food. It's a raw diet, so it's literally entire animals, whether it's deer, it's bison, it's chicken, it's all ground up with bone, and they'll add calcium and stuff like that too, and some different vitamins, and it's working really well for these animals. These animals are carnivores, so they need protein and fat, connective tissue, stomach contents and stuff like that to have a good diet. And we also feed this chicken legs, chicken heads, chicken necks, different meat products. I don't like to feed raw meat ever. Let's say I don't go to the store and buy, let's say, like a steak, because just as we should be cooking it, there's always that fear of E. coli.
Right.
And if you give one of these guys some meat, let's say hamburger or something like that, tainted with E. coli, they'll give them the worst stomach GI problem in the world. I mean, they'll get sick, they'll retch. It's just god awful. So you want to be intelligent in what you feed them.
And you kind of think, like you said, that these are as close to kind of a domesticated animal as a reptile can be, right?
They're definitely, I like to think that. So if we were thinking, let's say, like a bearded dragon or a leopard gecko, which is kind of the closest thing we have, like domesticated lizards, well, I definitely feel like we're working with the same kind of element, but even more, bearded dragons are really intelligent, really keyed-in animals, but this is a bigger animal, but they are very intelligent. They have bird-like or mammal-like intelligence and reactiveness to their owner. They recognize you, they know your voice, they know your sight. I mean, they can look at you within like a split second. They're like, I know that person. You saw how someone reacted. And they're like, whoa.
Yeah, who's this guy? Yeah, what's he doing here? It's pretty cool.
It's pretty, it's pretty wonderful. They're like these big lap dragons, and
lap dragons. I like that. That's a great term.
Well, I mean, literally, look at this. You're just sitting here. I mean, he has no, other than the fact he's a big, powerful boy with big claws. All he wants to do is just crawl around.
Right.
I'm just preventing him from crawling around.
Exactly.
But he's a doll. And just like anybody who wants to have a big dog or something like that, it's a responsibility because you're having an animal that can grow to 6 foot. They are dimorphic. Females are smaller growing. And when you do get like a water monitor, especially if you get a male, you want to think, long term, what would you keep it in? And that usually is like a small walk-in kind of closet type cage.
Exactly. I notice, as you're working with these guys, you're doing a lot of hand gestures, the way you're touching them. So you're really working a lot on the behavioral part of these guys. And so tell me a little bit about that, and maybe we can go and look at how you do it with some of the babies.
Basically, you want to make it so there's nothing off limits with the lizard. So I do it with like baby caiman. I start rubbing their faces, and I do that. And this is a wild-caught animal. So this animal came to me a little smaller than this, and he was insane. So this is years of establishing trust.
Right.
But once he finally got it and I developed a relationship with him, he's been great. I can pretty much manage him as I can my own little guy right there.
Right. Yeah, you don't want them to fear you. You want them to feel like they're completely comfortable with you.
Yes, and so there's certain things you need to do to manage them, and we'll go through that and look at some babies.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it. All right, so Kevin, these are literally fresh babies, right?
Yes, these are maybe 3 days old.
3 days old, and of course these would be just normal, oh my gosh.
Here you go, so this is how we start.
Right.
So basically convinced that everything wants to eat them. And I'll win this guy over in a couple days.
And again, that's just a matter of, he's got a big attitude. He's trying to protect himself. He's a little guy, big world, and you've got to just prove to him that you're not trying to kill him. You're not trying to hurt him. And so these are normal looking, with a little bit different because these are Het T positives, right? And they definitely have that little bit of a weird neck pattern thing going on, and so there's a little bit of a visual Het, right?
Yes.
Right, and then of course these are the beautiful animals, which are the T positive water monitors. And again, we saw the big adult, and this is what they look like as babies, and you can see just how beautiful they are, that purplish hue to them.
The trick is we want to find like a medium-sized one because they're like yellow and lavender. Right. That doesn't have all the stained skin, but they go through a drastic color change, and they have red eyes. But this is just awesome.
So this is a mid-sized T-positive albino water monitor, and you can certainly see, we saw the little babies and they were so cute and they had the really interesting color, and of course as an adult they kind of get a little bit stained up by the bedding. This still has that beautiful color, and look at all the purples and yellows in that animal. Wow, now that is absolutely gorgeous. So Kevin, just tell me a little bit about your idea behind this behavioral thing. So you're going to start as a young animal, obviously, and kind of just desensitize them. So walk me through basically what you're trying to do right now.
All right. So basically, I'm playing with captive-born socialized water monitors that we breed at Nerd, and I've been working with these guys to basically develop a relationship with these where they actually really want to interact with people, and they want to they're literally drawn to you. So you can see these guys, there's nothing propelling them out to crawl on me except for the fact that this is very interesting to them. And so if you raise up one of these after I've socialized them and got them to this point, they're basically a clean slate. They think that people are wonderful, and you can pretty much raise up one of these guys to be, obviously, a larger version of this, but it's going to have the same kind of personality. Super friendly, very much enjoying being handled. They'll have all the confidence in the world, which is critical with water monitors. It's basically getting these guys confident where they feel like they're not afraid of anything. And they're willing to go out there and investigate, like these guys. This is everything. Coming out and investigating and seeing what's going on is what's going to make you have this wonderful animal. All right, well, this is a yearling animal, and so this is what you're going to end up. When I was showing you the smaller ones, you have literally an animal. You can pretty much do anything you want with, and she's totally socialized.
Right.
So this to me is just like the epitome of a wonderful water monitor. Very smart, very thinking. I can release this animal on the ground. It'll crawl around the room, but it'll come right back out.
So tell me exactly what you want in a cage and how it's going to be set up.
All right, so you're starting with the captive-born animal. I guess like if we go to a pet store and we bought a captive hatched water monitor that's already been in the wild, that's already been through some kind of hell, it has a natural fear of people.
Right.
And we want to put it in a cage with deep substrate. Obviously, we're managing the proper temperatures, humidity, food, and all that stuff. With that being said, we're talking about socializing an animal, because the purpose of keeping these animals is for us to interact with them and socialize. If we have an animal like this that is friendly, we're going to get a lot out of it. If we have an animal like that that's fearful and nervous, we're not going to get a lot out of it. We might end up having an animal we don't want and we want to abandon.
Right.
But I think when you start having an animal that's friendly and wonderful like that, you really like, oh my God, I love this animal.
Right.
That is what I'm trying to make. So if I take a cage and I give it all sorts of hiding places and allow the animal to escape the sight of me or people through most of the day, they'll hide. And when they see you, they'll stay hidden, and they come out to bask when no one's around. But what happens if you actually take the cage and you strip it down and you start with an animal that I've already socialized? I've already done all the dirty work. I know the little tricks.
Right.
There's certain little tricks that you got to do.
Right.
And so by the time I'm ready to sell them, these things are socialized. They're this kind of thing.
Yep.
So now we want to promote that. To promote that, We are not going to give him a cage where it can go and hide all the time or anything like that.
Yeah, because if it's not used to seeing you, it's going to become...
You can start giving it the natural, vivarium type thing once you develop a relationship with it.
Right.
Because you can start putting all sorts of hide places, and you'll still find out every time you walk into the room, he's like, oh my God, I want to be out, I want to play with you. So I have very simple caging. There's actually no substrate in the bottom of these cages at all. They're either dry or they're water.
Right.
And depending if I'm feeding roaches or not or whatever, they have specific hot spots. I use ceramic slate. I aim the slate, aim the light on the slate, and I create a basking spot. And then I put these rudimentary, very non-naturalistic looking screen things like this. Right. They will sit there and they watch you. So when you first come in, when you first hatch them, they're nervous. They're like thinking you're going to try to eat them. So within the first week, you basically change their view on that, and they get used to seeing you. And then after a while, you start noticing instead of hiding behind a piece of cork bark, they tend to start spending more time out, and they'll spend more time basking. And you come into the cage, and you have little short episodes, and you shut the cage. And after a little while, you could have a cage with maybe 8 of them, and in a short period of time, I usually have one that says, I think I want to crawl on you. Right. When that one crawls, the other ones start gaining confidence.
They go, hey, what was that?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Kevin, this thing is absolutely amazing. It's not that often that you can handle a Dwarf Caiman like this. I mean, you've been working with them a lot because those teeth are ridiculous.
They're my babies. I raised them from little babies. This is one of my boys. Actually, he's a little bit smaller than the other one. Definitely an animal you have to have respect for, but they're, as you saw, I went in there, I just picked them right up. So they're friendly. There's like a little bit of foods going on, stuff like that.
Exactly, but I tell you, every species of crocodilian is so different, and these are some of the most spectacular, smaller crocodiles, obviously. And like I said, just look at the eyes, and just the whole front of their face looks so just ridiculously different, and that is an impressive animal. And again, I don't think I've ever seen anyone hold one of these guys because they're just known.
How about when they bred them?
Yeah.
We bred them too.
Oh my God.
So I can show you some babies.
Take a look at this cute little monkey here. Kevin actually bred Dwarf Caimans, and I can honestly say that I don't know that I've ever seen a cuter little animal than that. Look at its little mouth is open and those little demon eyes and that big old head. Wow. If you don't think this is cute, I just don't even know what to say. That is adorable. Check that out. Oh, look at this dinosaur here. Woo! Now this is an ancient animal. Oh, Alligator Snapper. And take a look at that, buddy. Ooh, there he goes. He's opening his mouth. And you see that little lure in there? That's what he's gonna use to try to get fish. And he's an opportunistic feeder, an ambush guy. He's gonna go on the bottom of the river. You're never gonna see him. And when a fish comes by and thinks that little lure, which is part of his tongue, is a worm, it's gonna go up to it and wham, it's gonna nail it. And you gotta watch out because these guys have a nasty, nasty bite. Tell you what, if this thing hit my finger, it might come off. So again, I'm gonna be really, really careful to make sure my hand's behind its head. But an animal like this that's over 100 pounds, this thing could easily be 100 years old. Wow, now that is a bit of history and quite an impressive animal. Whew! Guys, this is one incredible animal right here. I love all crocodilians, and American alligators are certainly the puppy dog of the croc world, but this is no normal alligator. It's a jet black melanistic alligator, the only one that I know in existence. What an amazing animal. Now, chances are this is a recessive mutation, and this happens to be a little boy, so when it grows up, hopefully there'll be some heterozygous babies produced, and one day we may see a whole litter of black alligators. And then think down the road to take this beautiful black animal into an albino, and potentially you could get a solid white alligator with red eyes. I tell you what, there's a lot of cool animals out there, but I'm not sure that you can beat this one. So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. What an amazing time visiting Kevin and such amazing monitor lizards. And as always, I was Facebooking and tweeting my way through it. So make sure to follow me over at SnakeBytesTV and on Instagram at SnakeBytes.tv. Until next week, you've been watching Snake Bites.
Hi, I'm Peter Birch, an Aussie bloke who loves wildlife. My respect for nature started when I was a young boy in rural New South Wales. Since then, it's exploded into an obsession. New episodes only on AnimalBytesTV.